Bokash boys and Gavutu girls, welcome back to another episode of the Money Hill, your number one Call of Duty podcast with a betting focus. My name, of course, is Scoot, and I'm back with BMB, Chris Bliven, and Nikita Buffy. Is that correct? That's correct. That's always
that rhymes.
It is.
I'm not sure I
just
ever
like the
realized that
gentlemen.
rhymed like that.
Gentlemen, how are we doing today? Listen,
could
Chris,
be
I had
the-
to throw you one for the intro. I'll never say that again in my life. I'll tell you that much.
You're just doxing the shit
Yeah.
out of me
you're
online. Everyone come stalk me. I'm gonna bleep that out. Also, I think you owe BMB royalties.
I don't. I'll never say it again. Listen, if we break 100 reviews, I'll give him. I'll let him buy himself out of his ultra bet from the beginning of the season. That's what I'll do.
I mean, we break 100 we break 100 views regularly at this point.
Really?
Yeah, we've
on shorts on TikToks
we
maybe, but like you know who's not breaking 100 views on the TikTok?
We've done it once on the main episodes, and it was also
and it felt really good, right? It felt so good. Oh yeah, so many people are following Call of Duty nowadays, and viewership isn't in the toilet on YouTube streams. But we're not here to talk about that, fortunately enough.
No, we're not.
We are here to talk about.
We're here to talk about Chris chewing and crunching
Love
something right next to his microphone.
We are here to talk about week 2 of the Call of Duty League, headed into week 3 of Major 3, hosted in Toronto, of course, which I don't think we'll be seeing a home victory if I have to make an early prediction, unless something crazy happens.
Or if there's the honeymoon phase.
I mean,
we love a good honeymoon phase.
They already lost the game, though.
Not with the honeymoon.
Yeah,
I don't know. They did.
To be honest, I actually just really like the format change.
What format?
You guys know about that? Oh, so they've changed the format. So they've just basically changed it to 3 teams. So it's like first team OpTic, second team Faze, and then after that it's just question mark. Just like who's the third best team?
Everybody's the same.
It's just everybody. You might as well just like who gives a shit.
Well, let me tell you something. I think Minnesota is making quite the claim for being the 3rd best team at the moment.
They are. And when Subliners won the tournament, they made the claim, and week to week it's just going to change. It's great of them to cut it down.
So I wouldn't give too much credit to that.
At this point, I think everything's
I give 0 credit to that.
I do want to jump.
I mean, I give 0 credit to LAG winning it.
Okay, well, I mean, they got their slice of the pie this year, and I think realistically, anybody can go on a run at the right time, and that's kind of what's fun about this game, I guess, a little bit.
Well, that was the ultimate honeymoon phase. They honeymooned their way to a fucking championship.
Yeah, but they got
that's a real championship.
0-3 right off rip. Like I think it was.
Yeah,
not really.
It's legit.
It's not real. Yeah, it's not.
I mean.
I reckon
how many championships have Faze won?
End of the day,
how many championships have Faze won?
One of them was on
Chris.
Super
End of the day, it's no bounty
Superland.
week match. Like it's not the same. Nobody cares about a major. They just want their fucking.
That's
10K
why no one tried to win the major because there wasn't 10 grand
for every
on the
match.
line.
I mean, what the fuck, Call of Duty League? No. You guys touched on it a little bit. I think the team that's not standing out the most, I think that would clearly be OpTic at this point. I think they've established themselves as top dog, number 1. But Minnesota ROKKR.
I mean, they haven't won a major in months.
Minnesota ROKKR are 4-0 this stage, and we all know the saying at this point. I say it every year, every week until it happens. But Attach always gets a slice of the pie, and it's shaping up to be a big old Major 3 juicy piece of key lime pie for Attach.
I was literally going to ask you what kind of pie is it going to be.
Yeah, I know, and I already had mine picked out because I know my favorite kind of pie.
Key lime's an
key lime pie is great.
Pick.
Why?
Oh no, I love key lime
pie. So fucking good.
One of the best.
I mean, you just come on here to be contradictory. At this point, with that take, like it's clear where you stand on shit.
It's sweet, it's tart, it's got a nice crunchy base. Like
it's got everything. Let's be real.
What pie would you go for?
I'm a blueberry kind of guy. I'm a blueberry kind of guy.
Blueberry pie is unique. I'll give him that.
Blueberry pie, yeah, that's fine.
It's not bad. That's not bad.
I think I'll go cherry pie.
No, for real though. I mean, bringing in Havoc, and my big worry was like, hey, if they go down in this series, what's really gonna happen, right? Because they used to have that reverse sweep energy. And I guess the fact of the matter here is that they still do, and they always have. And I will also note that nobody gets reverse swept by the ROKKR more and worse than Toronto Ultra because they also reverse swept them in that final last year.
Oh, we all know what you're talking about. Yeah, that brought up painful memories.
Yeah, as an Ultra fan.
Actually, I want to ask about Toronto Ultra. What do you guys think?
What do you mean? What do we think?
Is it legit? Like their performance with Scrappy this week has made me go, maybe they're not a 8th, 7th place team. Maybe they're actually like 5.
I mean,
so they beat
you said it at the beginning of the show. I want you to be clear that none of the places below 1 and 2 realistically
none of them
matter.
really actually matter. Apart from Paris, which shockingly, I'm surprised. How did Paris not win a match? Like they had those 10 grand on the line.
Yeah, they really
did. No one let them know that if they won, they would win.
No, I mean they
grand?
looked like they wanted it more though.
The irony, right, is that that's just a.
Because that was retirement money for them.
Well, that was the only thing that was getting paid this season so far, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly. None of them getting paid again. So that's
I mean, the org was about to snipe
bit
all
unfortunate.
of it to get a 25 mil investment back in the league, but
it was a bit unfortunate for Paris that they had to go up against the Subliners, right? The way that it was structured is it was meant to be paired up between teams that are close in the standings, so that way they'd be like, oh, well, this is going to have a big impact and help you guys, whatever. Yeah. Unfortunately, the New York Subliners that are playing today are way different than the 11th or 12th place Subliners that started the season when Clayster was there. So now they're way better. They don't have Clayster. And so, of course, they were absolutely going to smoke the Legion, and they just had no hope. Now, I don't think it matters who the Legion play. I think they're getting smoked. They're by far the worst placed team.
I actually think if they played LAG, they'd have a shot.
That was your chance to say the Ultra, and I appreciate you not saying that.
I mean, they do have a chance against the Ultra.
I think the Ultra is at least 1 or 2 spots above them. At least.
LAG was able to squeak out a win against
I'm not
Legion.
sure. I do wonder if
clear.
Would it have been 10 grand American, Canadian, or euros? We don't know.
Euro and American are about to be at the same level for the first time in like forever.
That's true.
That's a crazy thing.
It is crazy.
That is rough. That's not good for us.
Recession is coming, boys. Like those 10 grand matches are gonna be important.
We're talking about liquidity drying up from Call of Duty books. That's when it's gonna happen. Back on topic. We took a veered left completely and somehow talked about the Legion going 0-3, which might be the least important thing that happened this week.
And losing 10 grand. They didn't lose 10 grand. They just didn't make 10 grand.
They also took Ravens to a game
LAG,
5.
LAG. This week. I think you're looking at week 1.
Sorry,
brother.
I'm looking at week 2. Yeah,
your schedule reversed. They took LAG to game 5. I mean, props to them, but LAG did squeak out a little cheeky victory there, which I guess they needed for morale after getting slapped up by the Florida Mutineers. No, Ultra. I want to get into this a little bit because they have Scrappy play for Insight, who I believe is out with food poisoning. I didn't know that spreads to your
Talked a lot of shit,
but
talked a lot of shit.
Scrappy. I mean, he loves talking shit. That's why we love him.
Look,
he's good for the scene.
A lot of shit.
For those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, shame on you. But food poisoning is absolutely in air quotes.
I mean, he's not been the problem at all.
He's like eating. He's vomiting.
Has he?
No, he hasn't. I mean, it's clear.
He is like not.
I think
if
I'm going to relate this to anything, like
they win against a quality opponent when he's the one not there.
Okay, but I think if you put Dashy on Ultra the way that they were playing, he's still going to put up numbers. They're just not going to be like it's going to be pretty much for no cause.
Illey is not the problem on OpTic just because Prolute is helping them win.
Yeah, that's just because they're the same play.
I'm mostly playing devil's advocate in this capacity because I actually agree that I don't think Insight is the issue.
Insight and Scrappy should be.
With that said, like
100%.
It is interesting that Scrappy comes in and goes plus 24 overall against Subliners, compared to -9 for Bance, +8 for Cammy, and -9 for CleanX. So,
yeah, but you're just naming every other player that we're saying is.
But this is my point. But like,
I think I would 100% say that one of those guys should get the boot, especially Bance.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think Bance and Cammy are the two biggest issues on the roster right now. That's become clear to me.
So I think what this really does say is that we're pretty close. I don't think Ultra are far off from being a good team. Like I think if they make one sub, they
define good. Top 6? Yeah. One sub, they'll get to top 6.
Three or four.
I mean, 3 or 4 is like, I still think even if you sub somebody out for Bance, it's gonna have to be someone pretty good to even compete with like subliners, because at that point you're putting in a submachine gun player to like go up against Hydra, who is fucking nuts. But like, I don't know. I think Scrappy would be the right move to bring in right now at the flex position. Take out Cammy, and then you have Insight, Scrappy, Bance, and CleanX. You consider maybe going for another submachine gun player, or you pull one up from your multiple academy teams. Which, I mean, what's the point? You know, like at this point, you have
who also did well, by the way. Their academy teams.
Oh yeah,
did well.
I mean, both of their academy teams were at the what's it called? Yeah, the Pro-Am.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like literally they had both academy teams make it to Pro-Am and perform well, I think. So grab one of those.
Yeah, I 100% on board with that. There might be a communication issue with the EU team. I'm not sure where they're from exactly. So
I think they speak in English. Most teams, most foreign teams communicate.
One of two organizations picked up a Spanish roster, and it's either ROKKR or Toronto, and I think it's ROKKR. So you're probably right on that end. I think it's like mostly British players. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why they're not making the steps to like be.
It's so weird.
A really good team when they have an opportunity to, and I think they have some sort of loyalty to these players because of their performance in Cold War. But the thing is, we're going to be playing another Modern Warfare remake, which Vanguard already is, coming up.
Guess
and
what?
Like, it's not going to work again, you know? Like, you can't rely on the same people to do
the players.
Same shit.
The players
I think
want
there's a number
10
of teams
grand.
that I'm a little bit
want
shocked
the 10
at.
grand. They don't like getting reverse swept.
No.
Yeah.
Especially not when you haven't won shit all year. I mean, you definitely want that cash a little bit at least.
For sure.
I just think there's a lot of teams that I expected during this break to make changes, and they haven't, and I'm surprised because I really feel like we saw their ceiling, and that's LA Thieves, the other team that I'm mainly talking about, and Subliners. Now, Subliners made a swap, seems to have paid out really well. Thieves did a weird kind of like gun swap, roll swap.
Surprise.
You know, it's good. I don't want to steal this from you. You had the best line of the week, so. How did you describe LA Thieves?
The way I describe LA Thieves currently is as the new Florida. I mean, right when you expect them to pick things up and do well, they slap you right in the face and are like, no, eat this $50 loss, and we'll also eat our 0-3 loss from the Florida Mutineers because you're making no money betting on them when they're playing well. It's ridiculous.
It's all over the place.
Oh, so ridiculous.
And I think it's... to be fair, I was watching Enabled. He was breaking down that he was saying some shit about Envoy, and I think a lot of people are dodging the question because I was looking at Drazah as the problem, but I do wonder if it's Kenny.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, there's just a lot of people dodging a lot of questions about what the problem at LA Thieves is and the reason behind that is because they have a lot of personalities that are very endemic to the COD scene and very important to the growth of the scene overall and have been for a really long time. But the fact of the matter is, like, you can put together a team of great individual players and sometimes it just doesn't fucking work out. Like
but this is 2 years in a row.
And here's what I would say.
And this is like, I'm asking, is it the players? Is it someone like Kenny? Is it Drazah, or which people were shouting out earlier, or is it actually just coaching stuff? It's been 2 years now that it hasn't been working, and it seems like a lot of similar issues from one roster to another roster. Yeah,
I mean, like, also the willingness to go out and try new things next year, right? And then they made so many roster changes, and that's just gone out the window as well. I saw a really interesting tweet earlier today. One, I don't agree that it's Octane. I think that I would agree with the Kenny swap. But at the same time, I would also agree with taking Drazah out of the roster and considering, like, if you're LA Thieves, you look at the way Scrappy performed this weekend and you consider buying that out if he's not a starter for the Toronto Ultra, first of all. And then second of all, they have Pentagram on their bench, who is fucking gross, apparently. So, like, at that point, you have pretty much a fresh roster. You can start out, do new things. You surely can sell Kenny to another team. No doubt about that. And probably Drazah as well.
Who's buying these guys?
Who would buy them? I mean, you look at, I don't know. I don't think Legion's a landing spot for anyone. That's kind of where careers go to die at this point.
They're not spending the money.
No.
I think part of the problem is like with Thieves is that you look at Legion, everyone's just playing bad. Even Ravens started off good, had some chemistry. They got figured out, but whatever happened there, it's gone wrong. I think the big issue with Thieves is that individually, they seem to be doing okay. At times, like everyone, it's hard to pinpoint like where it's like, oh, this is the bad player, or like, you know, even when we're looking at Ultra, it's like two people are really standing out as like the weaker links, whereas with these, it's like it's almost like across the board, and I just feel like they're not meshing in terms of tempo.
I agree with that, and I think that comes to fruition in their inability to rotate in hardpoint. Like,
but I also don't.
Go ahead.
So
I'm listening.
I hear you on the Florida Mutineers of today. I'm not totally sold on that mental logic, because they go and beat the Royal Ravens 3-0, which isn't that impressive, right? Like we acknowledged before the split started, Ravens have a lot of issues. They go and get slapped 0-3 by Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's a good team, but now they get slapped by the fucking Seattle Surge. Like, this isn't a fucking, like, oh, they're playing great. This is a team that is able to beat a shitty team and can't beat fucking anything else. And now, I'm going to go a little bit further with you, which is the two games that they have this weekend are against Boston Breach, one of the best logos in the game, and OpTic Texas. We know they're going to lose fucking 3-0 to OpTic Texas. Like, there's just no other solution.
Yeah. I mean, they usually show up a little bit for that game, so hopefully not, but we'll see.
Well, I'll be betting on OpTic Texas minus
obviously.
2.5.
I mean, I actually probably wouldn't even take that. The odds probably aren't good enough, but continue.
And then we have the Boston Breach. And the Boston Breach, you know, they're going and taking a $10,000 bounty all the way into this game.
Yeah, but they're also taking a fat 0-3 loss to Faze,
which is to be expected.
I mean, it's a team that we were considering, you know, top 3 earlier in the season and competing with 1 and 2, maybe possibly into the future. And that consistency's kind of gone out the window a little bit. Like, they look almost inconsistent at this point. Like,
I do. So that to me might be the Florida Mutineers, is the Boston Breach.
You think?
No, you see, I think the Boston, because the whole point about Mutineers is they'll win 3-0, lose 3-0.
They definitely full sail.
That's what Thieves have been doing. Like so it's very flip floppy. You're like, oh, there's no way they win. They're doing terribly. Suddenly they start winning 2 matches in a row, then they lose. You're like, shit, they're getting hot. And I think that's exactly what the Thieves are, because they reach finals, they lose. You're like, that's fine. They do well week 1, and then week 2 they like side flop against a team that they should be.
I mean, you guys can feel free to disagree with me here. And listen, I've watched a lot of the Thieves games this year. When all 4 of those players are on the same page and playing at the same pace and playing well, they are one of the best teams in the game. You can't disagree with that. Like, they've had matches where they straight up fucking stomp
the matches
people.
where
that's why they have such a hard time trading anybody, because they feel like they have one of the most talented rosters. And they just can't figure out why they can't seem to get on the same page on a more consistent basis.
Yeah.
But we've seen this in like traditional sports where it's like you have a roster that's great and it's one series away from a championship, and they just never.
I've heard that team is called the Phoenix Suns.
That's the thing. I don't know.
But like even
shit, app comparison.
Even part of it might be like a mentality switch, because you see
what?
OpTic
Octane,
and they lose one of their starters.
Is Chris Paul. I think that is actually the best fucking analogy that I could make to date.
I think Octane's won.
They almost won in Black Ops 4. I don't think they won it all though. They didn't get a ring.
He didn't actually win. Yeah, I was trying to remember. I thought he did. Okay,
they won like last stage playoffs before the ring, which
doesn't matter.
Something along that line. No, I mean it's a huge prize.
I think Octane being Chris Paul might be my favorite and most.
I hope Thieves wins this year now. No, okay.
No, he'll probably get injured.
I agree with you
and get
100%. Like, there's almost too much of a ceiling there to like give it up, and I don't know how you walk away from that, because like they are one of the best teams on paper, and they should be. And yeah, we've seen like good teams come together, but even like the way I view this is, you see OpTic lose one of their like pivotal starters, a key player, and
yeah.
The argument for bringing illey back, even if they are like 3 or 4-0 right now, like 3-0 this stage, and they've dropped 1 map to Atlanta Faze. The argument for bringing him back is that you put him in a championship series and he's just fucking different. Like, he's gonna win it for you.
Yeah. There's no way he's got the experience.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Of that stuff. Like
But
Prolute is amazing, but like no.
you see them bring in a sub, right? And the whole mentality just goes out the window. It's not like we're OpTic Gaming anymore. Like, we have to win this series. It's just become like, we don't really have much to lose right now. Like, people don't expect shit out of us because we're playing with a substitute, and they might look better because of that. Like, I think their expectations are not that high, and they still have the rhythm that they were playing with prior because Prolute's pretty much the same player. So, like, Thieves needs to key that in somewhere to how they're playing the game, because you see them get a lead and then it's like, oh shit, we can't lose this series. It's not like, let's go fucking win. It's just like, we can't lose this right now. Yeah. They're playing scary.
Also, just a little shout out to Envy right now. They are doing phenomenal across multiple titles. Like number 1 team in CDL, just won NA in Valorant, beating Cloud9. Big win for them,
OpTic,
probably best team there. Top 3 team in Halo. They have
no.
Team is
they won
great.
Reykjavik in Valorant. Like, they won the first major of the year.
Yeah.
And now they beat C9.
But they're maintaining it now. But they're still so it's like across the board, like this Envy OpTic merger is just actually delivering big time.
People just love to root for OpTic, and it makes it.
I think they're doing great in OWL as well, don't they? Like, they're the Fuel. I think they're second ranked or something. Like, they're literally like, it's across the board. It's like, it's going well.
Wait, that still exists.
I literally cannot believe you just talked about.
I can't believe you just referenced that right now.
I know.
That thing is.
I know, but like, I'm saying that like they are literally. I think their worst is top 3.
I think they're really.
I think Babyface Nelson got shot like 46 times or something, and OWL is still more fucking dead than him.
Yeah.
So that place.
I think they're.
What do you mean? Overwatch 2?
Oh, yeah, Overwatch 2. It's the same fucking game with a free-to-play feature.
I was gonna say, like, I was trying to make a joke. I was gonna make like a joke about how, like, I think they're still playing well at like Time Splitters, but like Time Splitters is a really fun game. Time Splitters is a phenomenal game. So I cannot even remotely compare it.
I would watch and play Time Splitters more than I would OWL.
That's why I didn't make the comparison. It was like Time Splitters is actually like...
Yeah. But I love that you brought it up because just brought back great memories. Did you used to ban out the short characters, like the guy with the fishbowl? This was like the beginning of my gaming nerddom. I never played online because it was the first game for PlayStation 2. Oh no, we used to just play split screen as well, but we weren't allowed to pick the short characters because there was a character with a fishbowl as a head, and he was like half the size,
and you just could never hit him.
Yeah.
I mostly did all of the like career mode stuff back then, and so I didn't play a ton. Like split screen, but anyway, point being, Time Splitters is a fucking way better game than now, so I didn't want to make the comparison.
It is. Scoot's like, what are you?
Yeah, I have no fucking clue what you guys are talking about. I'm also.
You're born after PlayStation.
Well, it was PlayStation 2.
You're born the same year. Oh my god! Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like he's.
I mean, the best game on PlayStation 2 was
potentially PlayStation 2 as well.
Can't say I ever played that. For me, it was also Dynasty Warriors.
Star Wars Battlefront. You get the clones with the jetpacks and you just shit on people. I mean, come on, like, you know. Also, Mario Kart's up there. He's
all right, well, off topic here.
No, okay.
Are there any other teams we want to talk about? So actually, I have a question.
That's where I was gonna go. Go ahead. Ask the question.
I'm like, I've kind of like at the start of the year I was really hot on them. Then they start to go bad, and I kind of held on to that. Like, no, they're gonna be good a little bit too long, and it crashed. But I will admit that secretly I've been hoping that they'll come back and that they'll turn it around.
100%.
I've been like secretly kind of like rooting for them. I haven't put it out there because I know they're not good. But then every so often they're good, and I'm like, maybe they're coming back.
I'm with you. I would love for the Seattle Surge to regain.
They just were so good at the start. Like, it was so fun when
they're
an
easy team to root for.
Totally.
Like, I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, like, end of the day, at this point, it's still the Pred and Simp show. Like, I don't really know if there's any getting over that, because you look across the board and it's like, in that series against LA Thieves.
What if you put Octane, Pred, Sib, and Envoy together?
I don't know if it would work. I feel like that would somewhere along the way. I feel like there would be a personality clash.
Envoy does well with aggressive.
That is
players.
true, but he also is the route man, and if you have a second route man, then it gets confusing because nobody's doing the other job, which is getting fucking dirty in the hill. But like, Actually, it's not even the Sib and Pred show. It's more the Sib show. Like, Sib's got a 147 in Control that series, a 138 in the Search and Destroy, and a 1-1 in Hardpoint. Like,
I actually want to bring up his year-long
oh, I mean,
stats.
they're probably, like, off the charts if you really look at it.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got the highest KD in
he's
every
gonna be a
game
big
mode for
pickup,
them.
whatever.
I think Mac's the other one that's playing pretty well, and then you get Accuracy, he falls off a little bit, and you usually, like, if you look across the league, your main ARs are putting up better KDs across the board. And, like, I don't really understand it. I also don't think Crimsix is playing that well. He got a lot of shit this weekend for allegedly just getting carried, which, I mean, partially true, but, like, you still got to do your job and be a leader, I guess, and that is part of winning.
The problem with Crimsix is, like, I've banged this drum. You guys know I don't like him, but I was reading a post and they were just saying that he's had beef with so many
so good
people.
for the league.
He is, but he has beef. I out of everyone on these teams, I just feel like he is the one who is most self-serving, and when things go wrong, he kind of, I don't know.
It doesn't come across that way. It just
Find it
comes
hard to root
across
for
that,
him.
like, when they're good, he loves to pick fights because they're good. And that's, like,
Yeah.
you know, and nobody fucks with them when they're bad,
And
which is a bad part about
You know
this.
what? Luca said it best. Everyone talks shit when they're up. And that's what Crimsix is. He is exactly that. Like, he'll talk shit when he's up, and then he
just like
kinda
me
runs away when he's down.
Just like
It's
me. I'm here to always talk shit when I'm up.
All right, final question here.
Actually, I talk shit when I'm down too.
Our Faze
I don't
gonna beat
run
OpTic.
away
That's
from
legit.
anything.
Our Faze gonna beat OpTic this year. That's my final question. Can they do it?
In like any game ever?
Can they? Yes. Will they?
Are we talking about like in a championship, or are we talking
think
about
so.
like just like in a matchup?
I mean, they haven't beat him in a matchup this year. It's 5-0 at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
How many more times are they playing?
presumably, I would say they play at the next major once or twice.
Oh yeah, major, and then you have a qualifier. And
They
then,
play one more time next stage, I would assume. So 3,
Yeah,
maybe
that's what I'm
4.
assuming. So
You're looking at 4 to 5 to 6, like 4 to 6 probably.
I think they will win one, just because I don't think the org can put up with losing to them that many times. So I think they'll put so much work into trying to read them. They'll lose every other match that week just to beat OpTic. But I don't think they win this year. My bigger question is, and this is like a really, it's what happens next year, because they can't win this year, but the roster is so stacked and so talented. I find, how do you give it up, especially with their performances from last year? But next year's game is predicted to be like this year's game. So do you keep the roster because it is a great, phenomenal roster, with the hope that next year's game is different enough that you're able to win? Or do you have to change things up?
I don't think you can change things up. It feels impossible. Like that's the only answer I have for you. If they're gonna be second best next game as well and be this good and this consistent, you can't fuck with it. Also, I mean, you have Simp who won MVP last year, Cellium, who probably deserves to win MVP at some point this year, or has played like it at least. I think he is definitively probably the best they are in the game.
No. You have to
I mean,
take
if you,
OpTic.
huh?
You have to take someone from OpTic as MVP.
I don't know,
right now.
dude. I think Dashy fits in their team very well, and that's why it funnels to him and why he has such high KDs.
I think Dashy at times has not played.
I don't know.
well.
He's incredible and his shot's incredible. But if you look at some of the shit that Cellium does and the amount of impact that those kills have, it's insane. Like, he is hitting shots where he's just jumping up in the air over a rock and finding someone's head and two-bulleting them, and then they're dead. Like, I don't see anybody else in the game realistically doing that as often as he does. And every time they switch to his POV, when they're playing OpTic, I'm like, is he about to just drop 4 and break a hill on his own? Because, like, he has that impact for Faze. But you can't break it up. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
They're
But
not
I
the,
also-
they're not the type of team that they're not
I'm-
the type of team who's going to settle for second, but and I
Exactly.
think that is going to be but I think to scoot to your point, like, who the fuck would you sub in for any of these guys? Who would you take
But
out?
also, like, is it
Arcitys?
settling for second when OpTic is that team is as good as they are? Like, you have to consider that.
I think the only person I could imagine subbing out would be Arcitys, and like in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, he's kind of like the bedrock to a lot of what they do that allows for the like. He doesn't always have the best KD.
Others to shine.
Exactly. Yeah. He is the point guard, and he helps facilitate the action. He might not get all the best points and the best stats, but he's the bedrock that allows the other three to really perform. But I mean, some of his stats are becoming pretty atrocious, like minus 32.
I think you keep the team like you guys said, but I think if they continue, because you just need to accept that, look, this year, this game, the way it plays, it doesn't mesh. You're still second place, you're still doing phenomenal. It's a shitty game, and unfortunately, and like at least because it's not gonna be a 3 or 4 year cycle with the game. You know, it's 1 year. You're like, all right, you know what? We're good enough. We were best team last year, second best team this year. We're good enough. The next year we'll be top 2, and we can compete for that. If it continues on too long, though, next year, I do expect them. I don't think they'll be comfortable just sitting in second place for 2 years.
I will say they are fighting to be a dynasty this year. So like if they are able to pull off the champs victory, we start having that conversation. But there is a ton of time though for them to adjust at least a little bit, and we know that they are very good at adjusting over time. However, it seemed like that happened way quicker in Cold War. Like they would lose a game and there would be the rubber band effect where you're getting 3-0'd.
But their only issue is OpTic. That's also the part of the problem, is like everything is working so well for them except against.
But they're dropping more like one-off series as well this year. Like they'll lose to Surge that 1 week last stage, and that just didn't happen last year, like ever. It happened maybe twice where they lost to a team outside of the top 3.
I mean, the fact that they haven't beaten OpTic yet is insane. Like you can just you can full stop right there.
Yeah, that is a huge. I mean, Kryptonite's green too. You said it last week, you know.
It is, but I mean, that's just wild. But you do love seeing Faze. I mean, they're still the second best team, like unquestionably.
Just want to see us go major, so that's big for the York. But with that being said, let's hop into this week's matches. Unfortunately, we are recording early.
And by the way, ironically, one thing we didn't bring up is that they're still the points leader. So while they're not, while they haven't won anything, they're still the points leader, right? They still have.
They're ranked number one. Yeah.
And so, like, I know that we're focused on championships, but they still won more matches and they have more points than any other team out there, including OpTic Texas.
That's very true.
That's because of the finals appearance.
I'm aware of what it's for.
Major 2.
Yeah, right? No, but it's 100%. No right. Doubt. You are like, and it's true at the end of.
They're just going to struggle to beat them. Okay. Recording early. Unfortunately, do not have odds, but I think we've watched enough games of Call of Duty and can predict ahead of time just a little bit as to what matches here we'll be able to bet on and we'll have good odds for. And with that being said, I'm going to absolutely snipe the match that you guys want to talk about, which is taking Minnesota ROKKR to beat Atlanta Faze this week at probably I would say 2.5, 2.6 odds, I think.
Oh, wow. That high? Oh, I would 100% take that. That's
at least, I don't know. People just, you got to consider that Faze doesn't lose, even if they have lost them, they haven't lost a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there is an air of consistency in those games that that's also not removed by a loss to OpTic Texas. Like nobody's worried about that. They're just worried about their stage matches against other teams. So
I think you're going to see 2.4 to 2.5.
I think that I'm with you guys. I would 100%
think the sports books
ROKKR.
are going to acknowledge that the ROKKR are good, but they still again everyone knows that Faze is still, Faze is Faze.
Faze is Faze.
The bet that I want is going to be the over 4.5 maps because I think this game I think that this game could go either way. I think ROKKR are playing really well. I still think Faze are Faze. I think you're probably going to see over 4.5 maps at around 2.8 to 3.0. Somewhere in that range is kind of generally where we see it, especially between two teams that are evenly matched. And so for me, I love the idea of not having to pick who's going to win, but still taking the over 4.5. And I just think it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to go back and forth. And I'm really excited for this match.
My only shout out there would be -1.5 for Faze.
Really?
If you're on the Faze side of things, I would have a look at that because I think the odds for money line will be shitty.
Yeah, you'll get 2.2.
I do. I would take. I mean, look, I'm going ROKKR. I think the momentum is with them. I think it's exciting. But if you are looking for it, if you can get -1.5 for that 2.2, I would take that. If you're on the Faze side,
ROKKR needs some heartbreak before the next stage, and then they'll win that major after having the most mediocre stage performance of all time. That's my prediction. I don't think this is the one, but I think they go 5-0 here and get heartbroken in the upper bracket, and then fucking dropped out in the losers bracket. And then they learn how to play the game again. You know, come back.
Very well could happen.
I have two matches.
Go ahead.
So one is Mutineers Seattle.
I was looking at that.
It's an interesting one.
So we have no odds, but my question to you guys is: if the odds are good enough, do you take Surge?
Yeah.
No.
Ooh, split vote.
I mean, what is good enough?
Right.
Like, what's the price here?
I'm ready to take Surge at like 2.2. I think is where you're gonna see it land.
Am I starting to trust Florida again? That's the real question.
You are.
know?
Clearly you just admitted you are, and that's why you're going to get heartbroken, and that's why I'm going to make money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to, profit off my win from later this year. That's already going to come to fruition soon enough when Ultra don't qualify for champs. But I don't know. I mean, like, if Florida's there at like 1.8, 1.9, you have to consider it just a little bit. Because, like, they at times look fucking stupid good. Also, Dav Patty as a kid, by the way. Did you guys know that? That's
what?
And then the thread on Reddit is just the last message just says Dav fucks, and that's it. and Florida tweeted it. It was so funny. I found that out today. I was shocked.
I don't really have a call on this one. I want to see the odds, but like I'm leaning towards Surge. But that being said, if you can get some obscene odds on Mutineers 3-0. That would be tempting to me.
Yeah, I think you take the 3-0 both
ways
and just ride with that.
Both
I could definitely see Seattle being
just go hard.
I don't see Florida being
beating
Seattle 3-0.
The other match,
Florida
that was yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Florida only 3-0s. They 0-3 or they 3-0. So it's
LEG.
Yeah, that's why I think Surge could beat them.
And then they got
because they lost the map to LAG, who are
they 3-0'd OpTic during the Pro-Am, which was hilarious as well.
Again, fake turn.
Nope.
So the next match is Thieves versus Breach.
Thieves versus Breach.
Because Breach have been on a downward trend, but Thieves are all over the place.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. They're all over the place. Yeah. However, fan service tells me that they'll probably be favorites this week, which is kind of a problem.
So do you think
this is the bet that?
And I think Thieves should beat Breach, but this is what I mean. They should. And if the odds are good on Breach, I actually think I take them over Thieves.
I'm not gonna lie.
I
think it's a real big week for them.
How big? Okay. Are we saying beating OpTic Texas big?
No, I don't think they beat OpTic, I think there's going to be a lot of time invested in beating OpTic, which will come to fruition in the Breach series, and then will fall short in the OpTic series. So I think they are going to skullfuck Breach.
Well,
like 3-0, 3-1.
Well, then take them. You heard it. Take the -1.5.
I'll take the +2.5 on Breach against you, Scoot.
Ooh,
what? Why would I give you that at 1-1?
Because this is Chris's modus operandi. He's like, give me +2.5 at a 1.5 odds, and I'll take that bet against you. And we're like, no. Or bet $50. He's like, no. You bet me $50. I'll bet you $10.
I'll bet you $50.
It's fair.
Chris won't give me good odds here.
Chris has lost so much money against us that he is now trying to like manipulate the odds.
I mean, the fact of the matter is it might not happen. And like, there's a good chance that like Breach wins a map somewhere in there. There's no reason for me to take that. I just have a feeling that this is like
I think the Breach +1.5. I think they either win or they lose 3-2.
It's almost like
I would say they lose. I think they lose 3.
My thinking here is that like we're at nearly another tipping point for LA Thieves where like maybe it boils over and they have to make a roster change now instead of just a position change. But like at some point it's either going to be, 4 guys who are just going off every map or they're just going to fall short. So like I don't know. They could easily get a lead and get reverse swept here as well. Like, I'm afraid of every scenario, but I think that hopefully they dig it out this time and maybe get hot going into the major. I'm just a little hopeful.
I think my point for this game is I'm staying away. I don't really have a great feel for this one either way.
Fair enough.
So
That's fair.
I don't think that there's any sort of odds here that would be enticing enough. I think you're probably going to see it. Thieves are going to be favored like 1.8 or 1.7 to Boston Breach like 2.0, 2.1, and neither of those are good enough for me in order to get excited enough to gamble on it.
All logic says that you should bet on Breach there, to be fair. Like, 100%. The inconsistency of LA Thieves is like through the roof.
All right.
And we love volatility.
We do love volatility. I just think we need to close out the two games that I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see an Ultra 2-0 weekend.
Doubt it.
Really? Who are they going to lose to?
Paris.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Paris is due for a win. Now that the pressure of winning 10K is off, you're going to see them come
I actually
alive.
think if Insight's back in there, Paris wins. I'm not going to lie to you. At least map one. We know this. If it's not Bocage, bet it, baby.
I think you're going to see an Ultra 3-0 or 3-1 against
slander,
Paris. And then I think you're going to see another 3-0 or 3-1 against Ravens. And I think they're going to put a massive head fake on everybody coming into the Toronto Ultra playoffs, flying high and performing well. And then they're just going to get slaughtered at home. But I think you're going to see a big weekend out of the Ultra. So I would take the -1.5 for both of those games, and I would definitely parlay the shit out of that. And then the last game that I think I really want to talk about is the Subliners versus OpTic.
Yeah, that's one that's catching my eye as well. Dude, OpTic's got a big kind of rivalry week going here.
They do.
They play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crimsix, former Dynasty member. Yeah. You know, a little bit of bad blood there, of course. Yeah. And that started with franchising in the CDL, and then they play their little brother after too. So
right.
It's a big week for OpTic Texas. The problem is that they look better than they have all year, and especially right now, I just don't think they're losing either of these series. Like I told you, there's no pressure on them to perform. Like they don't have to, and they are. So honestly, it worries me going into a major where they feel like, oh yeah, now we have to win this if we go like 5-0 or whatever. And we saw what happened when they had a perfect stage last year. Like they fell apart on the back of that.
I think that in all seriousness, in that vein, they're going to want to beat the shit out of Thieves because there's a little bit of a rivalry there just between like personalities.
Hex and Nade Shot, of course.
Exactly. And so I don't think that they're going to want to lose to fucking the Thieves. I could see the Subliners being a little bit of an overlooked game where they're not as focused on it and maybe trying some shit out ahead of, Thieves and ahead of the major. And I could see the Subliners getting a sneaky win. So that money line is going to be at like 2.4 to 2.6 or maybe even higher. I love the idea of putting a small taste on the Subliners in that position.
I mean, OpTic money lines right now, we just know the odds aren't going to be very good at this moment. Like they're too good and they're playing too well right now to have good odds to bet on. So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of value on either of these games on the OpTic side, and I could see New York being the team that squeaks it out. I think that's like most of the matches that we want to talk about. It feels like London used to be a team we talked about a lot for upsets, and now it's just like, yeah, they have shit odds, but they deserve it. Florida possibly beats Breach. I think if Florida loses to Surge 03, you just start hammering the next game. So, word of advice to the viewers.
Breach have a sneaky important weekend. They're playing two teams that are beatable, and they need to beat them. The Breach, they lost to the Subliners. They beat Ravens, like whatever. And then I think they lost to Faze, right. And so they kind of have a sneaky important
Breach
week.
Are like settling in a gatekeeper role. They're starting to hit that, like, we'll beat everyone below us.
Well, currently they're sitting in fourth.
Lose everyone above us.
But it feels they've gotten worse.
They have gotten worse.
Yeah, they've gotten worse. So I would put them in 6th place now. I'd actually put Toronto. They've swapped out with Toronto for me. Toronto's gone up from, like, 9th place to...
I've got to...
like, 7th.
I got to ask the question every week. I mean, we got new news, new matches, all that stuff. But who's winning? Who's winning the major?
Which major?
The upcoming one after this week.
I actually think it's an OpTic ROKKR final.
I like ROKKR.
I think OpTic.
I mean, if ROKKR ends up in the final, they're not losing it.
Yeah.
But if Breach ends up in a final, they're subbing in Doug Censor Martin, who's never lost a final ever.
Did you see he had like some big news and then he fucking got robbed?
I saw that. It was kind of sad. I felt bad. That man's like so positive all the time, and that he's the one that gets robbed. Like, yeah, that sucks. Sucks to be Doug. Or not sucks to be Doug, but that sucks. That situation sucks. Let's be clear. I'm not talking shit.
It does. It does.
No, you said OpTic ROKKR final. Who's winning that though?
I think OpTic ROKKR, and I think OpTic wins.
Chris?
I love having the ROKKR winning. I think that is the right play. I
think we did have odds for that, didn't we?
And then, who they play?
He's got to win at some point.
He's got to win at some point. And
if it's not any of these two, it's got to be champs. So like,
and I would guess that you're going to see some sort of Faze ROKKR final, and Faze will get there without ever having to play OpTic.
That's the only way they're getting there, right?
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
Or lower bracket run where OpTic's in the upper bracket. Let me throw you a curveball. LA Thieves winning the major?
No.
Tricky.
No.
I mean, their odds are pretty good if you take the outright. It's out there. I think they are 25-1 currently, which is pretty accurate.
Well, I'm actually looking this up right now. So
they're still not going to win.
For them to
their
win,
odds don't help them win.
ROKKR winning 9-9.
Yeah, 8 to 1.
That's a good one. Actually, I'm going to just pull up to reach the final because I would love this bet. So, Faze 1.53, Texas 1.66, Ultra 4.0, ROKKR 4.5. So I would take ROKKR 4.5. Sure. Subline is at 5. I think that's okay. And Breach is a 10.
I wouldn't take that.
LA Thieves is 13.
Breach is prone to losing semifinal in the upper bracket and then also the lower bracket right after. I don't doubt that at all.
So LA Thieves 13. I think that's pretty good.
I think they get mixy at this major.
Yeah, it's hard for me to like see them making a consistent run to reach finals hard. But I think Subline is 5.0 and ROKKR at 4.5 to reach finals.
It's kind of hinging on the stipulation that they end up in the upper bracket, because if they're in the lower bracket, this gets real difficult for them. Like I don't think that's doable. They need to be upper.
After they lose both their matches this weekend, they will be in the lower bracket.
It is tough that they have to play OpTic.
How's this podcast gone for 47
I don't know. We've been talking about a lot. We went. It
was like at 20 minutes and we were wrapping up and I was like, all right, this is over. And then we started going on to time splitters.
Yeah, we went off the rails a couple times. But, at least
why people
brought
listen.
us back to kind of the end of the episode. Yeah.
As a host.
I mean, it's like, it's about being entertaining. It's not about hosting. You know that? That's the fun part. No, with that being said, Nikki, thank you for taking me straight into my lead out at the right time. But of course, go drop us a follow on Twitter at Bo3 Network. Our Discord should be in our pin tweet, but it's now in our bio actually. So click that link, join the Discord. It's an infinite invite. You can come chat with us, talk shit to us. Let us know why we're fucking stupid or why we're the smartest people you know and why we made you money this week. Also,
hard to beat the same
go
team
to our
twice.
YouTube. Hit that fucking subscribe button, hit that like button, smash that bell, hop on those notifications. You'll know when we post, and you can go watch our better episodes called The Gold Advantage, which is our sister podcast focused on League of Legends. Currently in MSI right now, taking place in Korea with some absolutely electric matches, which we will be recording on tomorrow, and I am so excited for. But yeah, thank you again for listening to another episode of Money Hill, and we will see you next week.
Toodaloo.
Bye, everyone.